Hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to Coastal Consciousness. I'm Shelise, your host, and today we're back with another episode of Culty News. We are joined by the ever so fabulous Carah Burrell slash Nuance Ho. Hey, girl, hey.
Hey, I'm fabulously having a panic attack about this
Don't,
episode. Everyone
don't.
who's in here, listen up. This is going to go down in history about what I have to share today. So I'm
Yeah, she
fabulous.
just got some new news today. I don't know if we're sharing all of it or maybe hinting at some of it, but also this video is kind of like a very shorter, condensed version of an episode that she did on her channel already, which is awesome. And we're just going to pull all those little juicy tidbits from it. But I would highly recommend going to that video afterwards and getting a more broad story or broad view and perspective of it. So, Hera, thank you so much for joining us to talk about
Yeah,
all things Tim Ballard. You are our resident Tim Ballard news reporter, and you have gone deeper than anyone has ever gone. And I'm so
that's not true.
happy that you're willing to share with us today.
I have to thank the people who have come before me, the Lynn Packers of the world, the American Crime Journal, the state of Utah, and not the Attorney General's office, the women in this lawsuit against Tim Ballard. I am normally a comedian, is my background. And for some strange reason, I have gone down this rabbit hole. The first time that it went to the news, if your audience is familiar with me, was that first episode we did together when Tim Ballard was like denounced by the LDS Church,
Uh
and you
huh.
called me and you're like, "Let's do an episode tonight." And I rushed over. I didn't even know who Sean Reyes was then, and look at me now. Look at me now.
Look at you now.
So yeah, I
Now
didn't
people
even
are
know where to
calling
go.
you and they're like, hey, we need to talk because we need to compare notes. And so that's what I did. So thanks for being
Yeah.
here. I
So
think,
the reason why I wanted to say that specifically is to let people know right off the bat at the top of this program how very, very serious you thought things were serious before with the allegations against Tim Ballard and what he's accused of doing to about 7 women now that are involved in this lawsuit. I have just gone down the rabbit hole more and more, and I have more people on the inside of this reaching out to me. And today was probably the second day since this started where I heard something so devastating. Certain things that I can't say, but things that put a fire underneath me that have changed this entire dynamic that I can't even smile when talking about it because it is darker than dark. So
yikes.
I know this is Cults of Consciousness, and I know you do a lot of dark stuff. I'm getting used to it. So I want to just let the audience know that the reasons that I need to do this is because we need to make noise for these women, for the women, and for these victims of Tim Ballard. That there is all of what we talk about around Tim Ballard goes to the very top of the LDS Church. Could not be any bigger. $100 billion corporation could possibly be like the mafia. I don't know, and to the top of the state of Utah with the Attorney General, Sean Reyes, being bestest buds with Tim Ballard. And a lot of that forwarding tons of abuse and stopping possibly the criminal investigations and the women actually getting justice for what they alleged him and OUR did to them. So I
Mm-hmm.
cannot speak strongly enough about how much I hope that people pay attention to this is not like another just silly pop culture thing. This is on par with like everything else to do with the Mormon true crime stuff going on right now with Jody Hildebrandt, Ruby Franke, Lori and Chad Daybell. So
Mm-hmm.
this is going to be something that I think is going to go down in history that cracks open all of these different systems and shows the immense amount of corruption going on.
Wow. That's a lot. Big words. I'm excited to hear what you have to say. I know part of the story because I watched some of your video, but then another half of me wanted to be surprised a little bit. So I'm going to be learning
Yeah.
along with the audience here
I
today.
added some more
But
stuff for you. Yeah.
okay, but I would like to start with your fabulous, just so concise, beautifully written spiel about Mormon history and how it ties
Okay.
into Tim Ballard. You posted it as a TikTok or a reel or something, and I saw it and was like, that's brilliant. And I feel like we should start there for people
All
who
right.
aren't aware of any of this.
Yep. So we're going from Mormonism into everything tying into what's going on with Tim Ballard and Operation Underground Railroad right now. So I made a video that starts off with the idea of like, what's a random historical domino effect that I love? Well, when white Christian settlers got to America, they started to notice the remains of some fancy looking civilizations and started asking questions as to who's to blame for these dope ass mounds. You heard of that. So
Mhm.
naturally, the culprit was the Native Americans, but that was a little bit too inclusive for the white settlers' sensibilities. So they posited that the dark skinned people that built them had skin that was once white, once upon a time, while they were worshiping Jesus until there was probably some falling out with God and he turned their skin dark as a curse. Then a boy named Joseph Smith thought, wow, gee whiz, I wonder what kind of wars they fought and stories that they had to tell. So he made up a bunch and just started telling them to his family. Then Joseph turned those stories about the Native Americans being lost Jews whose skin turned dark from not following Jesus into the Book of Mormon. So he prayed in a grove of trees and he said, God the Father and Jesus Christ are two separate people, and all the other churches were false. They were big abominations, huge disappointments. So Joseph was doing a bunch of stuff, took a bunch of wives behind his wife's back. Dozens of his closest allies got fed up and left. And Joseph's like, that's fine. Good riddance. You're excommunicated anyway. Have fun in hell. Smears their names. Flash forward 200 years. A member of the church that Joseph founded, named Tim Ballard, gets really interested in American history and starts writing books about how Abraham Lincoln was inspired to free the slaves because Lincoln checked out a Book of Mormon from the library. Put another way, Bible fan fiction begets American fan fiction. So Tim Ballard says to himself, what do the Pilgrims and Lincoln and the Founding Fathers and Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon prophets like Nephi all have in common? They all realized that this American continent is under covenant, and we better start reading our Book of Mormon and doing missionary work, or else God is going to plunge us into a curse just like he did to the Native Americans. So Mormon apostles like M. Russell Ballard loved what Tim had to say. Talk show hosts like Glenn Beck ate it up. Utah Attorney General Sean Reyes became Tim's newest bestest pal. But ultimately, Tim was also building up a really loyal Mormon fan base as he launched a production company slash child rescue nonprofit called Operation Underground Railroad, in which he would go undercover to rescue children from sex slavery, film it, profit from it. And Tim's plan was to use the sizzle, as he called it, from his rescues for films and books, all leading back to money for him, cha-ching, and call attention to the religion that he belongs to so that more people would convert to Mormonism and save America, which means restoring the covenant from the Book of Mormon so that America can be prosperous once again. So then one day, Tim tried something called ketamine. And after Tim tried ketamine, he started talking to dead relatives and God and Jesus and Tom Harrison. I'm adding that one in right now. And that he was going to be president of the United States and prophet of the Mormon Church. So within no time, Jesus came to him and told him to recruit attractive women to play his wife, saying things like, hey, when we are going to arrest sex traffickers and they offer me a kid, you pretend to be my wife, you block for me and say, no, yes, we are kinky sex fiends, but now is just a really bad time so that we can get the intel and get out of there. And also, let's practice doing husband and wife things so that the traffickers can smell our pheromones. So then one day, the women went to the other people at Tim's company within OUR and said, Tim has been practicing this weird sex stuff with us. It's getting out of control. I actually don't think we're catching any bad guys at all. And so OUR did an investigation and realized, oh no, we got to kick this guy out. Vice News does some digging into all these complaints about Tim and his inflated claims and actions, and they ask for a statement from his church. And the Mormon Church writes back, and they are like, "Oh yeah, Tim Ballard. No, yes, we sold his books, and yes, we endorsed him for years. But that dude's gross morally. We don't like him. Disavowed all day." So all of Tim's famous Mormon pals, like Glenn Beck and Sean Reyes, they don't want anything to do with Tim all of a sudden. And then Tim's like, well, anyone who's against me are child sex traffickers. Thought you should know. So Tim gets excommunicated from the Mormon church, and he starts a new child rescue operation. And then a bunch of the former operatives at OUR file a lawsuit alleging in just gross, sickening detail all of the stuff that Tim made them do. And now, because he acted way too much like the founder of Mormonism, he wants to be Catholic. And he was giving a Catholic speech at Mar-a-Lago a couple weeks ago saying, maybe I'll convert. Maybe I'll convert. So maybe he acted too much like the founder of Mormonism, and it's catching up with him. So that is an introduction of how we got from to here. And I'm going to take you to your mind being blown.
You're going to take us to the celestial kingdom.
Yeah.
That was incredible. Well done. You covered everything. Guys, if you have questions, leave them in the comments. Jonathan's at home with babies, starring them for us and moderating. Thank you, babe.
How many are in the live right now?
We got 285 at the moment. Not bad for a last minute live.
Because I haven't seen your thumbnail or anything. I don't even know what this is titled.
Something about Mormon mysticism and the beliefs that made Tim Ballard do all of his shenanigans.
Yeah. It's not what you think. It is Swan Princess. It's not what it seems. It is. You thought you knew what it seems, but it's not what it seems. So
okay, so where do we start?
Okay. Let me pull up the newest article and get people accustomed to a couple new things. And if you've heard any of this before, I have to mention a few things. So don't yawn and say, I already knew that, because it's a lot of things tied together with new information that my direct sources have given me. Like Shelise mentioned, I have a friend now named Ryan Fisher, who used to be like bestest buds with Tim Ballard, and he has gone through his own kind of deconversion process from where he was to where he is now. And so we've done 2 episodes together and have some other projects in the future. So I'll get into that more. So that's the episode that Shelise was referencing. I have 2 episodes on my channel, and the major things that even if you've seen those episodes, I have a lot more to add to them with just stuff that Ryan just told me today. Stuff that has caused me to tell Shelise that I eventually, if I keep talking about this, I will get disappeared. This is like the Catholic Church spotlight movie kind of stuff. Harvey Weinstein, enough people need to come forward. And me and Ryan are putting together a lot of these pieces, and some good people are paying attention and reaching out to us, and also some bad. So it's getting,
whoa.
I'm a comedian and now I'm an investigative journalist. So here we go.
That's okay. Here we go.
Yeah. Okay. So how do I get my slides on the screen?
Babe, can you put the slides on the screen? Or maybe I can.
There we go. Thanks, babe. Okay. So some things that are new. So Tim Ballard arranged for Attorney General Reyes to use cocaine in downtown Penthouse amended lawsuit claims. So this was April 30th, 2024. And Shelise, do you know very much about any of the amendments or anything that you've heard that's stood out to you so far?
No, I feel like I've been so out of the loop. I only get my news from you, Carah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I was stalling while I was pulling up the link right now. Okay, so a couple of the things it says. So a new filing in the lawsuit against Operation Underground Railroad founder Tim Ballard claims that Utah Attorney General Sean Reyes, Ballard's longtime friend, used cocaine in a Salt Lake City penthouse. So the lawsuit that came out from these women that was filed, like I said, with many of Tim's former operatives that worked at OUR, like Celeste Boris was his personal assistant, and just various different people who were kind of conned into doing this couple's ruse with him, who have extremely serious allegations about things all the way to like straight up penetration and rape. While Tim
so it did get that far.
There's 2 specific allegations of penetration and rape that you can find in the lawsuit now. So in the video that I mentioned, yeah, so I'll get to something else. So again, trigger warning. Sorry if I didn't say that already. So I'm going to come back to the Sean Reyes thing in a second, because again, all of this intertwines with the highest levels of the state of Utah within its own theocracy. I used to joke around about how corrupt Utah is. That's what I mean by the people that I am working with, that we're putting these pieces together, are people who don't want their skeletons coming out of the closet are paying attention to this. So highest to this of the Mormon Church and the state of Utah. So I'll come back to Sean Reyes in a second, but the one of the major things that is added to the lawsuit now has been that the women allege that not only did Tim Ballard sexually abuse them under what is known as the couple's ruse, which Ballard publicly touted as an undercover tactics where female employees or volunteers would pretend to be his girlfriends on overseas missions. So among the new assertions in the lawsuit is that the late President M. Russell Ballard of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles sanctioned the couple's ruse and was aware of one of the assaults wherein Tim Ballard allegedly went to a woman's home and raped her. Quote, President Ballard, it's from the lawsuit, quote, President Ballard did not tell Tim Ballard to go to the police and report his horrible act, the lawsuit states. Rather, President Ballard told Tim Ballard to do better at obeying the couple's ruse rules.
Wow.
So the allegation that all the way up to the highest levels of an apostle of the church was made aware of not just Tim's pattern of sexually abusing women under the guise of the couple's ruse and sanctioned it when Tim reached out after allegedly raping one of the women that was an operative for Tim, supposed to be playing his wife. He went to her house one night, it's alleged, and this is what she writes out, and he was not in the right state of mind, and he goes over to her house and basically tries to come on to her, and he says something that people really need to pay attention to that expands upon a whole other cult that I can't stress enough, that we're not just talking about like, oh, Tim Ballard, he was trying to save kids in his own like dumb right-wing way with his Mormon ideas or something. Like, he was in and of himself a gigantic cult leader to the people that were in OUR so that he could get away with these things and believe his own prophecies and the prophecies of very powerful people within the church, like the apostle of the church and a man named Tom Harrison, who wrote a book called Visions of Glory, which I'll get into a second. And so with that as his backing, he is able to go all the way to a woman's house and say, hey, do you believe in Swit's alleged lawsuit? Do you believe in like reincarnation and that we're like, separated spirits in past lives and that like, that we were husband and wife in another life? And the woman goes, no, I don't know. I really never thought of it. And Tim Ballard's like, well, I believe that. Proceeds to like try to take off her clothes. She says, stop. She like goes over to the door and he follows her over there. He takes off his pants. He takes off her shirt and allegedly rapes her on the stairs again, all the way to the point of penetration. And I read a portion of that in my video and I didn't want to leave anything out because I wanted people to understand one thing that led to another to this egregious rape. And there's documentation within the lawsuit of a screenshot as evidence where she has a screenshot from her phone where Tim left his belt at her house and he was going on vacation the next day. And he's like, hey, I left my belt at your house. And she's like, it's on the front porch, right? And so that's where allegedly after that rape occurred that he reached out to Elder Ballard, the apostle, told him what he did. And Elder Ballard said, just do better at doing the couple's ruse, and swept it under the rug. Didn't report it, didn't withdraw his consent for Tim to be doing the couple's ruse when he's obviously aware that he doesn't know how to follow the rules. It makes you wonder, because I think that the normal view of this is yes, like these men, they don't give a crap about women and assault and it's all of those things. But what I think people need to pay attention to as well is the bigger picture of why, truly, truly why, what in the hell is so important, okay, that the prophet of the apostle of the church would not do anything to stop Tim from doing this when he should honestly be protecting himself or he should be stopped at least, even forget about the women, just stopped him from having access to be doing these things. Why in the hell is Tim Ballard so able to get away with so much? You following?
Mm-hmm.
So that's like the wider thing that I want people to pay attention to. So and then we're going to get into pinning that, talk about Sean Reyes for a second. Sean Reyes, if you're listening, I know all your secrets. And if I wind up dead, you guys, it wasn't suicide. Okay. I'm saying that right now.
Carah.
Yeah, I got to say these things. I really do. So one of the major problems is I have so much disdain for corruption, which I hope we all do. So if you guys remember back around the time when this was all kind of starting to come out, and Tim Ballard had like a Hail Mary where he was trying to what's the word? Like say that Jesus told him to run for Senate. And that was like when he knew the lawsuit was going to be coming out and all these women were going to be saying the things that they were saying, he's like, oh, they're all out to get me because I want to run for Senate, which is not going to happen. And that was obviously its own kind of ruse. And the intel that I have right now is that Sean Reyes, there's an article that I can pull back up if you want to put that back on screen. It's the right half of that article that says Utah AG office, sorry, it's too small for me, insists that it has no bias related to the investigation of a $1 million donor. So like the other article says, Tim Ballard gave the AG's office of the state of Utah $1 million to his bestest bud, Sean Reyes. OUR gave $1 million to the office so that they would stop their criminal investigations into the fraud that OUR has allegedly, probably definitely been doing. So with connections like that, Sean Reyes is said that he's recusing himself, but it's very obvious from this article here and the other intelligence that I have, Sean Reyes is absolutely not doing that. And so I just want to right off the bat, when I heard some different things today, I really want people, especially in the state of Utah, I'm like, why are people not rioting outside of the AG's office right now? That he is not going to give the actual criminal investigation what it's worth, because he is still the sitting Utah Attorney General. So my new intel is telling me, we'll see what happens, that Sean Reyes and Tim Ballard are hoping that all of this blows over and that they can then move out of the state of Utah and become appointees. This is something I just learned, to become appointees of the Trump administration if Trump wins the presidency. And that is part of the reason why Tim Ballard was giving a speech, a Catholic prayer for Trump at Mar-a-Lago last month. So you see where I'm going? Make sense?
Wait, so he actually did convert to Catholicism? And
not that he converted, but he was giving a prayer at the Catholics' prayers for Trump, which is like super right-wing Catholic organization. And I was assuming it had more to do with Tim, like, he's out of Mormonism now, like I said at the beginning, and now he's gonna go hype up the Catholic audience and go make them his new base. That might happen in the future. He might convert in the future, but it is to butter up the Trump administration.
Yeah, that would definitely be a plot twist, because Tim Ballard is just everything to do with Mormonism. He's very deep in the Mormon theology and his prophecies and wanting to become the prophet and all of that. So that would be a huge plot twist.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going to pull my screen back up. Exactly. It would be a plot twist. Me and Ryan were talking about, so this is Ryan. It's my new bud. Ryan is the best. I could talk endlessly about how dope Ryan is. And he, so Ryan Fisher on the left, M. Russell Ballard in the middle, Tim Ballard, and then John Moreland, an elder who was at the time the CEO of OUR in Elder Ballard's private office in the church office building. So Ryan reached out to me. He used to run this this TV show for many, many years called Nephite Explorer, which explored a lot of the things I was talking about with the Heartland model we've done episodes on Rod Meldrum, you and me before. So Tim and Ryan would do different projects and do different tours around the United States, trying to say that this is where the Book of Mormon took place. Okay, so Elder Ballard, it's pretty well established in the lawsuit and then just in general media. You can find this anywhere, that Elder Ballard really took a strong liking to Tim Ballard's ideas around the American Covenant, kind of like I explained at the beginning about these reasons that America is a fallen nation now and needs to be restored. And if we don't, then we will all be cursed like the Native Americans. Am I moving too fast? Does that make sense? Right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm following.
Okay. So Ryan has a lot of things that he's remembering all the time about his time with Elder Ballard. And so one of the things that I want to share with your audience has to relate to some special blessings that Ryan was privy to during his like decade-long friendship with Tim Ballard. So in the lawsuit, it states from the women, it says, excerpt from victim statement HDT, quote, he also told me to read this book. It was called The Visions of Glory, and that he had met with a man who wrote it. His name was Tom Harrison, and that Tom had told him lots of visions that he had and that actually had Tim in them. He said that Tim would be a prophet of the LDS Church one day and would be president of the United States. So
that would be a terrifying combo, by the way.
So I know. So I feel like for much of this, I'm just looking at it like, well, that's a guy with a God complex.
Yeah.
It gets bigger. It gets bigger. Okay, you can make me full screen for a second.
Are you going to tell everyone what the Visions of Glory is?
I will.
Is that coming?
That I'll do that after I'll tell you first. I'll go Visions of Glory first, and then
whatever order you want to do, as long as you tell people. That's all.
Okay. Yeah. I have a slide for it. Yeah, it's my next slide. Okay, you can pull it back up again. Sorry. All right. So yeah. So Visions of Glory. I'm sorry I was 10 minutes late, but I was making you a slideshow.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So to run down, I want to explain what Tom Harrison wrote about, who he is, and what my sources and the intel of all of these people, all these pieces are coming together. Me and Ryan are literally like on the phone every day being like, every time we think we like cracked the case, something else comes and we're like, we really cracked it now. And again, there's a lot of things that I can't say right now because I would die. I'm trying not to be dramatic.
Carah.
I swear on my life. It is that serious. It is that serious. And so the cult within the cult of Mormonism right now is extremely what's the word? I want to say alive, but more like dead in terms of like dangerous. Like I can't describe enough how much this cult is being run in the shadows of Mormonism that the top leadership of the church knows. Yeah. So like I mentioned, with all of the Mormon true crimes that are happening right now that are very much inspired by this book, Visions of Glory. Okay. So Visions of Glory is a book that describes the experiences of a vision and visions of a man named Spencer, which is more like a pseudonym for this man, Tom Harrison, who's on screen. And then the book is basically like ghost written by a person named John Pontius. But this is Tom Harrison. He's a famous like Mormon therapist. Right now he works for the church today, helping the church recognize patterns of like if missionaries are able to serve up to their capacity if they have mental health problems. Basically, he has a social work background. So the book is said to be ghostwritten by Tom Harrison and given to a man named John Pontius. So the book has become very popular in Mormon circles and sold at the church bookstores, as it describes Spencer having heightened spiritual sensitivity and the ability to perceive intimate details and thoughts about people, whether they are good or bad. The book describes Spencer having near-death experiences and visions where he can see into people's lives and character. For example, he can tell when a doctor is having an affair with a nurse just by being in their presence. The book promotes the idea that Spencer and others with his spiritual gifts can perceive whether people are angels or possessed by dark spirits based on their visions and insights. If you guys know anything about like the, Chad and Lori Daybell case, which they've pled guilty to murdering like Lori's children and a bunch of other adults. We get into that more in my episode. But that is all very much inspired by the visions that people really believe is the makeup of our reality. That if you have a near-death experience, you have ripped the veil and now you have some kind of special powers and insights. And people, they in Mormonism, it's a really fascinating concept. Basically, I explained it on other videos, but if you say that there are modern day prophets and your church's leaders in the corporate LDS church don't live up to that, it creates a vacuum. And a lot of people think that they are the chosen one, that they are the one that Jesus Christ is calling forward for the second coming. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you can put in the thing. Yep. Great. So the book's teachings about being able to perceive people's innermost thoughts and secrets through supernatural means have been very influential, especially within the Mormon Doomsday Prepper community all over. I just found out today that there is a person that I know through the grapevine who has to leave their husband because he thought that she was a dark spirit and he tried to kill her 3 times.
Oh,
Similar
wow.
to the literal other murders that have taken place, again with Lori and Chad. Okay. So the book's ideas about impending destruction and the need to prepare for that have been closely tied to the actions of Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell, who believed in this end of times that were imminent and used the book's teachings to justify their crimes. Tom Harrison, the author of these visions in the book, had a close relationship and influence over Tim Ballard and the anti-trafficking organization OUR. But did this book inspire Tim's actions? Let's keep going. So, that is a picture of Lori Vallow. And when she was arrested in Hawaii, like a lot of people, they think when they commit their crimes, and Jesus told them to, that the second coming is any day now and they can just ride out the storm. And she went to Hawaii. And so when she was being basically arrested or asked to produce her children that were dead, I'm sorry, it's hard to talk about. It's crazy. So she was in Hawaii trying to live her new best life, and Visions of Glory is right there on the bottom of the screen, like underneath her knee.
Wow.
She was reading it as she was getting arrested. There's a lot of ties between Chad and all of these different people, and I go into that more in my other episode. But as well as Ruby Franke and Jody Hildebrandt, sentenced to serve 4 counts of aggravated child abuse. And there's some revelations in this timeline that Jody received blessings from temple president, and that they were meeting with like top church officials. And I think this one also says that they were meeting with like maybe Elder Ballard, and meeting with Tom Harrison. Sorry, I rushed this part, but you guys can tell me, but I can't remember the exact details of who they're meeting with. But they are all intertwined in this cult of Visions of Glory.
Okay.
So I'm going to not go through this entire thing because I go through it in my other video, but I just want to show your audience about how interconnected this culty world is. And so I highlighted in red some of the main things here, but just in a 2-second summary, Tim Ballard is down here, and he is connected with Tom Harrison, aka Spencer, in the book Visions of Glory. And all of these people all have interconnections with one another. And this goes all the way up to like Visions of Glory and Tom Harrison were like bestest buds. They were in the same LDS ward with Neil A. Maxwell, who was an apostle of the church. And like Neil A. Maxwell's son works for Deseret Book, who approves the books that are sold there. Visions of Glory, sold at the official church bookstore of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, right? Like the Neil A. Maxwell, the apostle of the church, like really it's inferred that he really enjoyed the visions and the constructs of Tom Harrison and okayed and kind of wrote kind of an introduction within the book. And then Elder Russell Ballard over here, that he's connected again with Tim Ballard, and he's an apostle for the church, and that he was also on board with a lot of these same ideas. And then over here, Jody Hildebrandt worked very closely with Tom Harrison and Ruby Franke. Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell worked very closely with these people. We're very big fans of Visions of Glory. And then on screen right here, there's other different things about how they believed that they could see special spirits, and that near-death experiences gave them a special insight and vision that they kind of had their own prophetic calling of how to interpret light spirits and dark spirits. Okay.
I
Any
need to read this book.
questions? I actually downloaded it without paying for it. So sorry, you're not getting my $10 Amazon
Nice.
/ Tom Harrison. Yeah. So here's a quote from the book. This is one of my big clinchers that you guys are getting at 35 minutes, which I saved for the end of my other video. So within the, I don't know what to call it, the theories, the constructs of how the spiritual plane is laid out, in addition to what mainstream Mormonism might already believe about our spirits and what we're here to do and how we construct reality, Tom Harrison goes above and beyond. And so he's talking about just getting the work done to prepare for the second coming. And in the book, he says, sometimes the brethren were called upon just to perform ordinances when the mission had reached that stage. Sometimes we posed as fellow wanderers, as husband and wife, or other roles.
Oh.
So it makes one wonder. I'm going to explain the blessing that Ryan was privy to, that Tim received from this man, Tom Harrison, and how extremely influential is not even the right word to use, with the structure of OUR and truly the shadow organization of Tom Harrison's other cult to forward his visions and his ideas for the second coming, with Tim Ballard as its basic prophet.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
So it makes you wonder, with all of the things with the couple's ruse, with Tim Ballard going all the way to allegedly raping women and doing what he is alleged to have been doing. Not only is he very much sanctioned, has the couple's ruse sanctioned by an apostle of the church, if Tom Harrison is in his ear leading and guiding him, the idea that possibly Tim Ballard thought that the way to accomplish certain goals was allowed under Jesus's plan, if you are pretending to be husband and wife. Tim saying, do you believe in reincarnation? Do you believe that we were a husband and wife in a different life? The lawsuit also alleges that Tim Ballard's wife, Catherine, and his psychic, Janet Russin, specifically would seek out women for the couple's ruse of who should be Tim's next partners. And again, if you believe in things in all kind of like this spiritual reincarnation sense, and there is a bigger plan that needs to be forwarded, and you have a direct line to Jesus Christ through A, ketamine, and B, near-death experiences, none of the other things in life, the morality, the laws breaking, everything else is going to fall by the wayside if there is a bigger picture for the second coming and you are the prophet and you are allowed to do those things, like pretending to be husband and wife, and there is no sin that anyone can accuse you of.
Wait, so you're saying Tim's wife went out and picked these women?
That is what is alleged in the lawsuit. And I'm saying, yeah, like I just want people to really pick up how Tim, to my knowledge, has not committed murder, but the depths at which he believed wholeheartedly the same things as Lori and Chad, he's 110% there, right?
Yeah, that's
and so
really scary.
Whatever means justify whatever ends. And so the people for OUR, I mean, just side note, like constantly there were operatives within OUR that were saying like, this training is terrible. Ryan, in my interview, he started as a journalist and a videographer and so forth, and doing these American Covenant things. And he was going to join OUR, but like at the first training meeting, like they have guns and a guy gets shot because of the dad safety protocol. Basically, a guy gets shot and he's like, actually, I don't want to put my life in the hands of Tim Ballard anymore, you know? So a lot of people have complained about the tactics in which Tim, I mean, I've spent hours talking about how bad his tactics are, even saving kids, which goes to show it's not only just not about saving kids, and it's not just about the sexual gratification of Tim Ballard. It's not just about the sizzle and making money. It is truly that Tim is led and guided by revelations, prophecies given on behalf of his like his own personal cult leader, Tom Harrison,
Mm-hmm.
and then forwarded by all of the other people around him within this Visions of Glory circle, and forwarded and okayed by an apostle of the Mormon church.
Which is
So kind of,
interesting because when you reel it back like that, it's almost like, now I'm not giving allowances by any means, but it seems like Tim is being spiritually manipulated by these higher ups as well. Like they're feeding him this information, they're propping up his ego, telling him he's going to be these great things, giving him this inflated God complex because I believe he had it well before they even came into the picture. But it's
mm-hmm,
interesting when you look back at who's talking in his ear and making him believe these things, which is in turn making him act this way.
mm-hmm. Yeah. And like I said, when there is a vacuum created within Mormonism, people are willing to fill that space and willing to look to other people to fill that space of people who are literally like revealing and prophesying way more than the corporate LDS churches. But
Yeah.
you still get to wander out into that territory of, because that is the framework of what Mormonism kind of allows. And then it's still sanctioned by the top leadership. You have the best of all the crazy worlds forwarding these ideas. So yeah, it creates a vacuum. And Tim Ballard filled that vacuum pretty strongly.
Yeah. Real quick before you move on, for
Mm-hmm.
those who aren't familiar with Mormonism, so Kara and I both grew up in mainstream Mormonism, and what she's talking about is how we were told as kids there is a guy, he is this prophet, he is the leader of the church, and he literally has conversations
You're reading
just
from
like we
Nephi.
are.
Tell me about my new
My bad.
position as seed.
It's
Start
okay.
over.
He literally has conversations with God and then reports back to all of us, the members of the church. And so I remember as a kid being like, oh, wow, it's General Conference, which happens twice a year. What is the prophet going to say? What's the new revelation? What does God want us to do? And it would be things like, take out your second piercings, ladies. Or don't wear flip flops to church anymore. That's not cool. It's stuff like that. So what Kara is saying is all of us are on the edge of our seats because when Joe was prophet, Joseph Smith, he is giving wild prophecies and like big changes are happening. And that wasn't that long ago if you really think about it. Couple generations ago. And so everyone's just been waiting, okay, let's get these prophecies. Let's hear what God has to say. This is the one true church that God is speaking through, so everyone's ready and they're not getting anything. They're getting prophecies now like we don't want to be called Mormon anymore. That's like the big news. And so when you have that going on, someone such as Tim Ballard, or you look at now I just drew a blank, the names of the Lafferty brothers who are like, I'm the real prophet and I need to go kill all these people. It can get dangerous really fast. And that's kind of what we're seeing, this deceleration into what we're finding with Tim Ballard right now. Do you think that's accurate, Kara?
Nailed it. Yeah, those are perfect examples. No notes.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah, I just will lead into now the blessings that Tim Ballard is alleged to have had. You can make me full screen. I'm just going to ramble on what Ryan has related to me that he was privy to. So Tom Harrison, like I said, is a major mover and shaker within this Mormon circle. And so back in around, we think like 2013-ish, Ryan recalls a time in which he was hanging out with Tim Ballard. They're like bestest buds. And Tim Ballard says to him, hey, have you heard of Visions of Glory? And Ryan's like, yeah, I've read the book. And he's like, what do you think about it? And Ryan says, yeah, I think it's possible. Yeah, I think it's interesting. It's back when my buddy Ryan was still an active Mormon, right? And he's like, well, Tim says, Spencer from the book reached out to me and he's been having visions about me and wants to talk to me. Okay. And it turns out it's also alleged, like I kind of mentioned in the lawsuit, that the connections are that Tom Harrison reached out to Tim because he was having visions of how to help him basically grow. OUR is what's more like alleged in the lawsuit, of how to fundraise and like connect him with wealthy donors like Tony Robinson, who helped raise Tim like over $1 million. for OUR and like one fundraising thing. And so Tom Harrison and Tim get connected, and that is more of what the surface level is. And you can read a lot of that in the lawsuit. But what Ryan explains is that the special instructions and visions that Tom had on behalf of God and Jesus Christ for Tim Ballard was to set him apart, that he has been chosen by God to make some type of structure, some type of containment, that very soon there will be a doomsday action taken by Jesus Christ, Almighty God, and all of the pedophiles are going to be incinerated. They're all going to burn up in a great day of burning. Every pedophile alive who's abusing a child is going to
just spontaneously combust
on a great day of burning. And that Tim Ballard's job is that, this is right at the start of OUR, that Tim Ballard's job is to find a containment to take in all of these millions, hopefully not billions, millions of children around the world. And that Tim's special like preordination before the world was to do this work and pave the way for the second coming of Jesus Christ and make a containment for these things. And so with that type of mantle on Tim Ballard's shoulders, that's why I want to make a lot of connections. I won't have time to talk about everything, about all of the ways that once you can see things through that lens, it makes so much more sense of why so many of the people in Tim's circle allowed him to do the things that he did. Because it's not just that, you know, he's got a lot of money, he's got a lot of connections, he's saving the kids, let's put up with it. It's because the people in his circle, and especially Tom Harrison, who had a type of job at OUR. Ryan doesn't know if he was like on the official payroll, but it is basically alleged within the lawsuit, what I've heard, that Tom Harrison was a special advisor to OUR to set up its structure to what I would say is a shadow organization behind what OUR is to the people. Is we're rescuing sex trafficked kids, but what we're really doing is we're setting up a type of extremely Mormon fundamentalist culty structure of some kind. Maybe my theory goes that I think Catherine, his wife, and Janet Russin, they had their own nonprofit within the structure of OUR. There's all these different break-off nonprofits that lead to Tim's for-profit, and one is called Children Need Families that his wife and the psychic were in charge of. It's my theory that that could possibly be what Tim was trying to build out to take in all of these kids in that great day of burning. I don't know for sure, but that was Tim's overall mission. And so with that mantle on his shoulders and an endorsement from not just like Tom Harrison telling him this is what Jesus told me, M. Russell Ballard is in on this completely. And Ryan was there at a lot of these meetings. Like I showed the picture before, Ryan has been going through a lot of his emails and bringing up a lot of things that whether he's forgotten, and notes that he's taking from those meetings that tie a lot of these things together, which I want to talk about in a second. But I will give you a second to let that breathe. That it is, as it's been explained to me, an understanding that there is something much bigger here. And if you read the lawsuit, there is specific, I read it in my other video, but there are two long blessings that Tom Harrison gives to Tim Ballard that are transcribed, that are in this lawsuit on behalf of Jesus Christ, basically saying a lot of things that you're preordained to do this work. And everyone's thinking the work is, saving kids. But I just think there's something else much bigger going on, because everything, when you look at through this framework, makes a lot more sense that Tim, in the eyes of these people, is called as something quite prophet-like. And this blessing, at the end of it, it says, nothing can stop you. No criminal investigations, no police, no law is going to stop the work that Jesus Christ has, like the mantle that he has placed on your shoulders.
Wait,
I'm paraphrasing.
It actually says that.
Yeah, in the lawsuit, it says that at the end of one of the blessings that
he thinks he's untouchable.
He's told on behalf of Tom Harrison, on behalf of Jesus Christ,
Jesus?
that he's untouchable. Yeah. All right, and I'm not done. And I'm not even done.
She's not done. But wait, there's more.
Yeah. So that's one piece of it. Okay.
Well, while you're
So,
getting your drink, this is something that I just have to laugh at because it is so Mormon-like to say something so enormous and actually impossible that so for example, like baptisms for the dead or temple endowments, it's literally impossible to baptize all the dead people into Mormonism. It can't happen. And so when we're looking at this and he's saying it's your job to take care of the millions of children who are just going to be homeless all of a sudden or need taken in after the pedophiles go away. It's just already it's so like he's actually trying to tackle this. It's just it doesn't it's not feasible. It's and so yeah, I mean it does make a lot of sense when you put it in that context and you see through those glasses, those goggles that reminds me of like the drunk goggles you put them on. What are we actually doing here? He doesn't seem like he's in reality anymore. He's just completely off in his own world playing God.
mhm. Yep. Exactly. So if you want to put my slides up one more time, I'm going to rush through 4 quick points in 10 minutes and then I'll wrap up.
Okay.
Okay. So, um, there is a video that I posted over on my channel, and it's called Tim Ballard Psychic Janet Russin Channeling Dead Mormon Leaders for OUR. So if you, most people haven't heard this because it's normally behind a paywall, but I decided to post it until people tell me to take it down. So you can listen to that. But I went through the transcript, and the main takeaways, because a lot of people are having a hard time parsing out like what are they talking about. But
This is your reading.
nope, go to the next one. Come on. No. Sorry. I love how, oh yeah, sorry. The things that Janet Russin, his psychic, is channeling in this reading for Tim Ballard on behalf of Nephi, which I love to clarify. Janet Russin says it's not the dead prophet Nephi, it's actually Nephi Anderson, who is a Tim Ballard's great great grandfather, which in the theology of Visions of Glory makes slightly more sense that
Yeah.
Tim is talking to his grandfather. And there is another portion of the lawsuit that really, really freaked me and Ryan out when I read it on my episode with him, that the women were saying that Tim Ballard, when he is going, he's taking ketamine. What I believe he's taking ketamine as a way to produce near-death experiences, as a type of cachet, as a type of pawn, as a type of opening into this community. If you don't have a near-death experience, the next best thing is having an experience on ketamine. Okay. And I think that is where Tim is thinking that he's really communicating with, God, Jesus, angels. It's alleged, the women say he's talking to God, Jesus, angels. And what freaked me and Ryan out was, and Tom Harrison. So while he's on ketamine, he's got these scribes. Has his psychic Janet Russin doing different channeling from other dead people, all to forward these, not just the like saving of sex trafficked kids or something, but something bigger, something that has it's not just a really corrupt like Mormon ultra right wing broy wannabe summer sales like sex trafficking, anti-sex trafficking operation and something. It is a deep, deep cult of these people expressing their Mormonism to the tune of millions and millions and millions of dollars, enriching themselves and forwarding, again, sexual assaults and all kinds of these heinous things. But if Tim Ballard is using ketamine is what I think is what's really going on here to produce near-death experiences. Like I think Lori, when she was at her trial, she was like, never mentioned it before that she had a near-death experience, but she's like, oh, by the way, when I was giving birth, I had a near-death experience. It's a type of pawn to use with these people. So you can put the thing back up on screen, and the things that she's the video. No, I'm just going to read off a couple things, but people can go watch it on my channel right now if they want to. But she says that you have support from angels. You'll never be alone in these endeavors. And there's a lot of talk about the structure of OUR. It's freaked out a lot of people of like, what is they talking about? Why is they spending so much time? She's channeling Neil A. Maxwell, the dead apostle of the Mormon Church, and channeling Tim Ballard's great-great-grandfather to tell him about how he has support from beyond to decide the structure of who to put in place at different like administration roles within OUR. If I haven't said it already, this is about the second coming and who can be trusted, who are the light spirits that they can trust. And when they betrayed him or they out him or they say, you should be doing this couple's ruse, you shouldn't be doing this. Now they are dark spirits who, much like JJ and Tylee, you could say, who were murdered by Lori and Chad, Tim is now allowed to have a character assassination, a different type of death, because you are either with us or you're against us. So if you speak out against our tactics, hey, we're doing all this for the second coming, you know? So it's these people from beyond the grave handing back and forth the microphone in this video, basically telling Tim what his future plans are to be prophet of the Mormon Church, to be president of the United States, and what the structure of OUR should look like, okay? So I will wrap up by telling you then, if you want to make me full screen again. Hello.
Wait, hold on. I'm looking at that spiritual gifts line. Faith tokens, gifts, a seer stone, a visitation to show knowledge, all the gifts of the spirit. Is this what the psychic is telling Tim?
She is channeling on behalf of what Neil A. Maxwell and his great-great-grandfather, Nephi Anderson, is saying. So that's what she's saying. These are what they want to relate to you, about how protected you are and what you can keep moving forward with your mission.
Because it seems like he is a carbon copy of Joseph Smith.
Mm-hmm. And just with some extra added help from reincarnated kind of spirits in a way, again, with the visions of glory thing, that there are people who role play as human beings, but people are actually angels among us, or they're actually demons among us. They're actually zombies among us. And the second coming is going to wipe out all of these people. Echo back to the Lori and Chad thing. It's actually helpful to kill them now because you're just releasing those dark spirits out of their body, maybe a couple weeks early before Jesus Christ gets here and burns everyone up anyway. So the people role play in these human bodies as these different types of entities, you could say.
Okay.
So
I have no words, Carah. This is a lot.
Yeah. And I'm like rushing to get done in 3 minutes because you said under an hour.
That's okay.
But
I was like, Carah, keep it an hour. But there's a lot of people watching. If I don't want to cut you short, if you have stuff to share.
Yep. Well, what we're gonna do is, I want to say one last thing about what Ryan shared in terms of answering the question: did Tim Ballard have the second anointing ceremony? So,
can you tell everyone what that is? Because this is a Mormon channel exclusively.
Yeah. So the second anointing, most Mormons, I would say, don't know what it is. And if you bring it up to them, they will tell you that that's made up. That's not a lie. My church doesn't do that. And they shouldn't do it because it's a second secret type of ceremony that is reserved for the most elite, well-connected Mormons within the church, where they go into the temple and they have a special type of washing and anointing type of ceremony, washing each other's feet, done by like apostles, very, very special. And it is a blessing and a confirmation, basically, that your salvation is ensured forever, except for you cannot like shed any innocent blood or like maybe deny the Holy Ghost. Something along those lines. Has very few like asterisks, but God is basically telling you throughout this ceremony that you've made it and your salvation is secured, and there's nothing that you can do to have that taken away from you. As you can see in a church that has a lot of problems with it, people feel a real green light to do anything and know that they do not have to atone for anything. It's all taken care of because they have the second anointing ceremony.
And so you can't ask for it. You have to be picked to get it.
They won't even like talk about it. They'll be like, what are you talking about? It's like a don't ask, don't tell, special invite only kind of thing that, again, most Mormons don't even know exists, but really cancels out what the supposed like atonement is supposed to even be for. if people who are well connected and wealthy enough can get this type of ceremony. So early on in all this Tim stuff coming out, that was one of the things that was really on my mind because, okay, how no people within the church couldn't believe that Tim could do these egregious things. Oh, who could do anything like that? And it's like, well, if he had the second anointing ceremony, that really is the green light, like that he could do these things. People would cover up for him. So with talking with Ryan, he explained how before OUR had even started and Tim was just working like for Department of Homeland Security and, supposedly probably having to look at some like graphic child images, who really knows, but Ryan relates that Tim was feeling very heavy with the type of job that he had to do. And he was going to the temple like once a week and it was really wrecking him. And then he told Ryan how he got a special blessing from Elder Ballard in the temple. And he didn't say that he said, I got the second anointing, but Ryan's exact words were, I got a special blessing that absolved me of all guilt. And after that, I felt cured. I felt like I didn't have any other problems and I didn't have to worry about anything. And with that, again, that type of blessing going into starting OUR, going into these blessings from Tom Harrison of what he was going to be doing, starting this structure for kids for the second coming, supposedly. Again, I know that we're really playing in allegedly land right here, but between the mountains of intel of personal people that I have talked to, people who I've talked to off the record, between what it says in the lawsuit, I do think that there's a lot going on here that the church is desperate to cover up right now that relates to how much they propped up Tim Ballard, how much they don't have the gift of discernment, how much they let this man get away with, and how much that a very apostle, supposedly prophet, seer, and revelator, set apart as such, special witness of Jesus Christ, covered up for rape, gave Tim Ballard a blessing that emboldened him to abuse. There's only 7 women in the lawsuit right now, but there's actually a lot more who can't put their name to the lawsuit right now. So emboldening a man to commit all of these crimes for what? Well, within high demand cult religions, the for what is always the ends justify the means, because I talked to God. Jesus said, this is what's necessary for the second coming. So 2 giant blessings like that, combined with Tim's ketamine trips. And then one more story, one last thing that I can wrap it all together with. But yeah, that's a lot of the new revelations that have been coming to me.
It's so backwards because he's saying, well, this is so, the ends justify the means. This is so I can save all the children from being sex trafficked while he's sexually abusing women.
Well, he's trafficking them to the other countries, truly.
Right.
He literally is trafficking them.
The lack of logic. It's so backwards. But he doesn't see it because he thinks he's untouchable. He thinks he's God. He has this like, well, it's all for the greater good thing. I mean, have we speculated if we think he's narcissistic or psychopathic in the way that he's incapable of feeling empathy or incapable of having that realization, anything outside of himself?
Oh, yeah. I mean, absolutely just a spiritual narcissist turned up to like the hottest setting possible with so many people, especially surrounding him and propping up this vision that they have for him and who he's supposed to come. Because when you're talking about something as serious as the prophetic guidance needed to usher in the second coming, oh yeah, people will make allowances for what they let people get away with. So 1.5 quick last points. Super interesting. While I was doing that interview with Ryan, I was putting together things as we were talking, to be honest. And I started to realize, I'm like, I really do think that this ketamine thing, that is Tim's like entrance into having a near-death experience. And I said that on the podcast. And then a friend texted me just randomly that they were reading an article about near-death experiences, and halfway through the article, it's from The Guardian, about new science that's come out. I have a slide, but you don't need to pull it up. Just take my word for it. I have a slide. It's from The Guardian. There's some science right now that's coming out that ketamine truly is like a replacement for near-death experiences, and that scientists are studying what happens with consciousness in the brain and how you can replicate it from just a purely like biological standpoint. And I was like, I felt like I knew that. I don't
What?
even like ketamine, but I was like, I guessed that. And then she sends me an article and was like, that's what science is saying too, that it can be a placeholder for near-death experiences. Okay. So that leads me to my
Whoa.
last point. God bless Ryan Fisher. God bless all of the women who are standing up to Tim Ballard right now, because again, you think that you can believe your own revelations when you are sober. Imagine what a man can do when he's propped up by this many people, propped up by ketamine. And then this story. So Ryan was telling me about, I have a whole list of 1,000 things I have to keep track in my mind of things that I'm not allowed to say and things I am allowed to say. And this is one that I'm allowed to say. So Ryan was telling me today that he was going back through his notes of meetings that he was having with Elder Ballard and Tim Ballard. And Tim was asking Elder Ballard how to receive revelation. And Elder Ballard was relating to him that when you have thoughts come to you faster than you can write them down, that's revelation from God.
Mm.
And you want to know why this church sucks. I'm like, I have lots of revelations about Tim Ballard that are coming at me pretty fast. Which actually, when my husband pointed that out to me, and I was like, actually, that is kind of like, I do feel like there's a higher power that's connecting me with a lot of people right now. So I was like, maybe that's not so untrue. But the apostle is saying the way to receive revelation is just when you think a lot of things, that's from God.
Yikes.
Ketamine, you're going to be thinking a lot of things. And that, I think, just, again, spurs a circular, insular loop of Tim Ballard's revelations, believing, buying his own shit, and thinking that he is allowed to move forward with everything that he was doing, all the way up to straight up raping women. If you think a lot of things, that's revelation from God. So where it lies right now, I am really worried. The last thing I'll say is I have high suspicion that the criminal investigations in the state of Utah are not going to produce very much because of the corruption at the AG's office. That's my opinion. And that I also have high suspicions that no matter how good the cases that the women have in this lawsuit, please don't get me in trouble, but if there's anybody out there who wants to talk to me, who is involved in this, we can talk more, because I want as many people within this to connect with each other, and that I'm not just the one who's just like, you got to take my word for it. We need more people on record. And there's a lot of people in the background who are all kind of waiting for somebody else to be public and talk about these things. And Ryan is the bomb. He was one of the first people from Tim's inner circle to come forward, put his name, face, reputation on camera, lose his entire Mormon following, commit like career suicide. Not very many people are willing to do that. At least he's like, more out of the church now. There are a lot of cowards within the church right now, a lot of cowards within this group in one section. But then there's also people who legitimately Tim has thrown all kinds of dumb lawsuits at to shut them up. So the intimidation from the church is at a really high degree. The intimidation from the AG's office on people is crazy right now. And then from everything, just a lot of people feeling like I have everything to lose and nothing to gain. So it's really hard. And I just have like a cry for like my link tree is down below. My email is thenuanceho@gmail.com. And Ryan was able to like, be the first person to step forward, but I'd love to connect and talk with more people, because I have a strong suspicion that there are a lot of, you could say, just corrupt, like moles, plants, people who are working against these women getting justice and against this criminal investigation actually coming to fruition and getting Tim Ballard, served the justice that he should see. If all these allegations are true, instead of what I believe the plan is for him to probably move out of the state of Utah and try to go build a new life somewhere else. Mm-hmm. So please, if anyone knows anything,
we have someone
reach
here.
out.
Trevor said, I've been following Carah's coverage of this and can attest that it's even worse than anyone can imagine, having worked undercover with Tim personally. Do you know Trevor?
Trevor, I don't.
Maybe
email me. I found out something today that I can't say. But I'm going to
Carah, you're killing me.
I know. I can't. The reason it's not because I'm trying to be like Miss like secretive clickbaity thing. it's I don't know how else to describe it. It's something that chills me to the bone. I don't know how else to say
Yeah.
it. There is something that is so gigantic that is the last thing that you ever want to be true and made me want to effing punch a wall. So there's a lot of reasons why eventually people will look back at this podcast and say, what was Carah talking about that she couldn't talk about? Oh, there are things that are just bigger than me that I would be taken out if I revealed. But I guarantee that I would say 2 years from now, when things just keep coming out, things we're going to have to blow the lid off. But it's only going to happen if people are brave enough and talk to each other and, reach out. You don't have to reach out to me, but like get connected with other people that are in these circles, and say, what is the plan here? Because this man is trying to escape all responsibility. And these women have come forward and are put in such, a lot of them are like suicidal. Or at least they are in these desperate circumstances to have people, make the noise that they can't make because they didn't ask for this. They didn't want to like sue Tim Ballard just because they want a bunch of money. They were in this because they wanted to save kids. They were on Tim's side, and then they saw what he was doing with the money, what he was doing with his resources. Mm-hmm. And it's the people whose heart was in it who were stabbed in the back. And now they're told that they're the sex traffickers, like there are really good people in this who are getting run over. And there's, like I said, I have all the empathy in the world for people who legitimately can't speak up. And Tim Ballard has been told to me that he's a very dangerous individual and very unhinged. And a lot of things could happen. But there are people who are in positions of power who are staying comfortable. And it's time to do the right thing. Because I can't say certain things, but there are big money, big religion, big corruption, and extremely large amount of people have been hurt. And Tim will continue this pattern with his new organization. He got kicked out of OUR for this internal and external investigation. He went over to the Spear Fund, and that's still run by Ken Krogh, who's connected with Tom Harrison, Visions of Glory. So Tim is just he's continuing the entire thing of OUR. And everything he's continuing it. It's alleged in the lawsuit. He's continuing the couple's ruse in his new organization, the Spear Fund. So if Tim is not like stopped, you could say, more people don't speak up, he's going to continue doing these things and possibly, get roles within the government, and people will be like, oh, that was just a memory. The women lost the lawsuit, or the criminal investigation got stopped. Like it got stopped because very powerful people are putting their boot on the throat of innocent people. So, Shelise, did I lose you? Anyway, well, it sounds like it's just me right now. Seems like it's still going. Well, welcome to Cults of Consciousness with me, your host, Carah Burrell. Well,
I'm back.
Where'd you go?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, where'd you go?
My camera froze and everything unplugged, and I was gone for a second, but I'm back. I hear
Suspicious?
you. Yeah. Yeah. I was about to put this comment on the screen. Thanks, Jonathan. Carah, does the name Paul Smith ever come up in regards to Tim Ballard? He's former U.S. psychic spy from the government, now defunct remote viewing program, and is also faithful Mormon. Interesting.
No. Paul Hutchinson, got my eye on you.
Thank you so much for the super chat.
Any other comments before I tell everyone to keep me out of this country and safe in Greece and come on my trip to Greece?
Exactly. Well, Evie loves us collaborating. Love that. Oh, is my microphone not on? Hold on. Or me? Are you talking about me, Jonathan, or Carah?
Yeah, Shelise, I think your mic is not the good one. I think, yeah.
How about now?
Yeah, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Smooth.
Hey. Yes. So thank you guys for being here. There's a lot of people, 653 people watching right now. Carah, you friggin' killed it. We're about to talk about Greece, but I just want to give you props for that amazing presentation you just gave us. That was so thorough. You brought all the receipts. so good. There's so much for me to chew on. I feel like I need to rewatch this just so I can absorb all of the information because there's just so much, which is why I don't even attempt to try and learn Tim Ballard stuff on my own. I'm like, I'm just gonna wait till Carah figures it out and then I'll learn it from her because there's so much going on. It's so juicy and weird and so Mormon in ways that I never thought that it would be. I mean, at the beginning, I was like, is this a stretch covering Tim Ballard because he's Mormon? But like, is that really a reason to cover him? But then I was like, no, there's something else going on here with like the roots of Mormonism or the higher ups. And you totally called it just from that very first video we did where he's yelling. Where was he? Like at the Capitol or something? He's yelling about,
He was in Boston on one of his like American Covenant tours.
Boston. Yeah, and he's like, no, you'll see. And he's like, I know Elder Ballard so well, and just going crazy just because the statement was released from the Mormon Church being like, no, we don't claim him type of thing.
Yeah,
And
just
to
based on
see
like
how deep it goes.
like the level in which the church denounced him was what piqued my interest because yeah, everyone was like, the church doesn't do this. Like they would say that he's like morally whatever, you know, sorry, it's late and I can't remember the word. Morally whatever. We don't like him. That's all the words I can think of in the statement that the church
Morally
gave to Vice.
corrupt.
They
Yeah.
said he is something we don't
Oh,
like
right.
him.
I
I'm
remember
trying to
what you're
remember the
talking about.
wording. I know this. I only know fresh Tim Ballard information. I don't know the beginnings. I don't know the inceptions. Genesis is past in my mind. The chat's going to be morally unacceptable. There we go. Thank you. The chat was going to tell me. And that's where I was like, the church never comes out this strongly and denounces someone this strongly that I can ever remember in the last like 50 years. There's literally like members of like the 70 who have like been excommunicated for doing other morally unacceptable things, and the church doesn't say anything about them, you know.
Right.
So I'm like, there is something afoot here, and finding out what that is the rabbit hole. But then that leading to a literal excommunication from the church. Again, you can read the lawsuit. And it's hilarious because there's portions of it where Tim's like, hey, my personal assistant, Celeste Boris, can you write a letter to my bishop and tell him that I'm in good standing with the church, and have him write a letter on me so that all of the Catholics and everyone knows that I'm in good standing with the church? Thank you so much, tee. And the bishop writes this letter. It's in the lawsuit. And he's like, I, the bishop, say that Tim Ballard, you are in perfect standing with the church. This is like a couple days after that denouncement. And then 10 minutes later, I don't know how much later, he's like, the bishop's like, hey, actually hold off on that statement. Don't release that. I rescind it. Never mind. And there's this whole like argument that ensues between his personal assistant, Celeste Boris, who's in the lawsuit, who has some of the most horrible, egregious things that happened to her at the hands of Tim Ballard. So when she was still his personal assistant, the day that dropped, whatever it was, I'm going to say like September 15th, I'm guessing. Now she's part of the lawsuit again, flipping sides there. At that very time, Tim's like, okay, let's get a statement from my bishop saying that I'm still in good standing. And the bishop immediately had to rescind that. And then now it's hard to be like, I confirm this, but I would bet $1 million on the fact that Tim Ballard, that he's been excommunicated from the church. It's hard to prove some of these things specifically,
I was gonna
but
ask you that.
yeah. So now
'cause I
an
think last
actual
time we
excommunication.
Okay. Yeah, last time we spoke, it was we think he's been excommunicated, but now we're pretty sure that still not confirmed, but it's like pretty sure.
Yeah, and that was leading me to say the reason why he was excommunicated is still up in the air. That's one of the things that I think will come out eventually that I'm not really at liberty to say right now. But I can tell you that it seems to be a lot less about like raping women, unfortunately. Like you wish that was the thing that's like none of that in our church. That was unfortunately the thing that Elder Ballard was like, yeah, just like rape less and you're still good in the church. That was not the thing that got him excommunicated. As it has been explained to me, this is all alleged. And we will look back at these podcasts and say, Carah, thank you for following the rabbit hole so that we don't have to. And, you know, there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that there's documentaries being made. I'm hopefully going to be working on an even bigger and better one in the future. There's books being written. There's a lot of people coming together in my circles that are doing this like spotlight, like investigative journalism that we're going to look back, I think, and have movies made about this moment in Mormon history, about all of the crimes that have been going on, all of this Visions of Glory stuff, how everything is blown up. And it all again points back to the Mormon church and the state of Utah being insanely corrupt institutions who prop up some of the worst people to do some of the worst crimes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, there's so much brewing in the Mormon sphere right now. I don't know if you remember Chelsea Goodrich. Her dad was a bishop, was molesting her as a
Yes.
child.
Yeah.
He's on trial right now. So they figured out how to charge him in a different state because Idaho dropped the ball. Every single ball was dropped in her case, unfortunately. And there's like so much big stuff brewing with her. I have a call with her tomorrow, I think, or the next day. She's like, I have so much to tell you. The Mormon church is being held
Mm-hmm.
accountable and it's
Mm-hmm.
insane. And I want you to be a part of it. It's like,
Oh,
what?
good.
So much happening
Mm-hmm.
right now.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for doing this, Carah, for doing the Lord's work.
I'm a disseminator of information on behalf of other very brave people, but I am a girl who takes risks. I understand that. I hopefully live up to my values and my integrity. I just want to speak out for these victims that are not able to speak out right now. So that is that's my ruse, is talking about Mormonism, but also taking down some of the most powerful people, the corrupt people in the country is really gotcha. You thought I was just going to like do little silly TikToks about Joseph Smith. I will one day there will be a movie about this and there might be a character named Carah Burrell in this. That's no, just kidding. But that's what we're talking about. This is I swear the things that I know, I can't say, are going to change the entire landscape of Mormonism in the future in the same way that after like Spotlight came out with all of those revelations about the pedophiles within the Catholic Church, that's like now the thing that we tie with Catholicism and we think about with priests. And at the end of that movie, there's pages and pages and pages of scrolling of all of the other investigations done of where all the other, priests who are also doing the same types of things. I think this is the worst time for the Mormon PR, and they're going to be suffocating down these voices, intimidating a lot of voices. But thank you for giving me an opportunity to talk on your channel. It's got a couple more subscribers than me, probably like 1.5 to maybe 5 on a good day. But it's cool to be able to not just talk about this on my channel. So thank you for the opportunity to speak to your audience and let them know, please do not let this go and be swept under the rug. It's going to be around, and I don't want to let the women feel like we're letting them down. We're making noise for them.
James says, Carah has been so helpful for my religious reconciliation, and I love that. Caught the stream, I think is what I meant to say. Thank you, James. Carah, we love you so much. Natalie loves you too. I was about to do that, babe. We're on the same wavelength. Natalie says, love you too. I think I just might try to go to Greece with Carah. So everyone who's on right now and you're like, Carah sounds amazing, I just want to hang out with her. You can go on vacation with her. Psh, great opportunity.
I won't tell you the stuff off the record. I promise people I wouldn't. You can't buy a ticket and then be like, so Carah, what was that thing about? Sorry, zipped lips, integrity over here. Yeah.
But there's going to be other fun shenanigans.
Oh, all the shenanigans. Yeah.
Tell 'em.
So Shelise first told me when she was doing her Costa Rica trip, and I was excited that I got the offer to do another one. I started a nonprofit as well last September. And so part of what I do in this ex-Mormon space is I want to be able to build something long-term and bigger and do more community building. And instead of kind of going in just an influencer route, I want to be able to have donors and have trips and have meetups and things like that. So got the opportunity to go to Greece for 7 days. We're doing Athens and Santorini, and we're seeing all of the historic sites, taking a ferry over to Santorini, seeing all of the beautiful things, staying at a beach resort. On the 5th day, I want to rent people like a yacht. I want to make this the most epic trip ever and get a lot of fun, like-minded homies together. And we're doing it August 26th through September 1st. So if you missed out on going on Shalise's trip and you're like bummed and you can't go Costa Rica because it's sold out probably, you still can probably go on their wait list. But if Greece with me also sounds like a great idea, that opportunity is open. I think I have 7 more days till it closes. So I'm really trying to, I have to sell like 4 more spots right now and try to get as many people to come as possible. So you want to hear a fun announcement though?
Yes.
Have you ever seen my video? It's my most popular YouTube video with my friend Eve. who it's got like 600,000 views, and it's me, Jonalyn, and Eve, and we sit her down and tell her the truth about Joseph Smith and
Oh,
basically
yes.
deconvert her, basically. But she's my good
Yes.
friend, and she agreed to it.
Yeah.
That so Eve has gone through enough, and so I offered her. I was like, "Do you want to come to Greece?" She's like, "That's too expensive for me." I was like, can I just pay for you to come? Can you just come? And I just want you to come because you've been through a lot. So if you guys know that video, it's a really, people
Aw.
love Eve, and I wanted to give her an opportunity to go spend some time, like, you know, away from kids and life and work. And if you guys know what video I'm talking about, I hope that will also incentivize you to come hang out with me and one of my best buds, Eve, now that she's like deconstructed a lot of the things from the church, because she deserves it. So many people in this space, moms especially, it's like, how do I take off that amount of time? But I'm not like a good marketer who's like, don't worry about the money, you deserve it. But truly, don't worry about the money. You guys all deserve it. Please. I can't do it unless more people sign up too. So let's make it happen.
Yeah. And Ray doesn't want you to take the summer off, and we agree. So go to Greece with Carah. The link is in the description. If you haven't already, which you should, if you're subbed to my channel, you should be subbed to her channel, Nuance Ho, where she just does all things Mormonism. It's funny, it's informative, it's well researched, it's great. Go subscribe. And what else? I think that's it. Thank you guys for joining us. This has been awesome. Yeah, we're almost at 200K. We're hoping to hit it tomorrow, so you can sub to us as well if you haven't already.
I don't know math.
Guys.
Is that more than 52,000 subscribers? I really feel like it's about even.
Carah, I love you.
More of these jokes live in Greece. Hey.
We got Carah all to yourself for 7 days if you go to Greece. That sounds amazing.
Payment plans are available, but yeah, time's running out. I only have like, I don't know, 6-7 more days. So if you have any questions, if you have anybody else wants to reach out with anything that I said, anything related to Greece with Tim Ballard, my email, it's in my link tree. It's also thenuanceho@gmail.com. So I love connecting with people. Just if you want to talk about anything else, I have a patreon.com/nuanceho with other perks over there. Go to my link tree. You'll find me. We'll connect, hopefully in Greece.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
Thanks, Carah.
You're amazing. You're beautiful. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thanks, guys, for being here. Thank you, Jonathan, for moderating with Baby. We love you. We appreciate you. And Carah, we'll see you next time very soon. We just recorded a video with Carah. It's coming out very soon. So keep an eye out for that, guys. It's all about Mormon history, mostly Joseph Smith and all of the things that he was up to. And it's going to make a lot of sense with this Tim Ballard video as well. It'll kind of like coincide. So anyways,
I'm getting more and more coherent by the collab with you. People will be like,
this was amazing.
She's unrecognizable. I got to go follow my I have to go follow my highest excitement. So I'm peacing out of here.
Yes. Follow your highest excitement. Be conscious and be well.
Bye.